All right, let's get this thing off the ground. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining again to part three of the we create a mimoLive show document for the extra hours. And Today we are gonna hopefully, I think we're gonna clean up the document that we created in part one and part two a little bit and push it towards more polished finish. Let's see how far we're gonna get. And as always, Alexander Knight is gonna do the work, and I'm just gonna
Good to be
help
here.
him
Hello.
along. And we are also joined by Achim, who is the best expert on mimoLive because he actually has the code on his machine and he can look at what it's actually doing. But hopefully today we can work with whatever we have in our brains already, and just sort of consolidate everything. So, Alexander, take it away.
All right, let me just start my screen share so you guys can see everything here. And I've got the script ready to go as well. Okay, so I've got mimoLive open. This is in my text editor. Just thought it would be easier to modify things. So this is where we left it from Thursday earlier this week. For those that joined, this is the script that we're currently using right now, which is automatically pulling in names from a Zoom source and inserting it into a lower third. And I think one of the things that we wanted to do was continue the conversation to figure out how we can best set up mimoLive for a show like Extra Hours where guests are constantly being rotated. So we discussed whether or not we would need to create layer variants for all six potential. I think the show kind of caps out at about 6 people. So we kind of need to figure out all potential layouts for like super source style layouts for people that are going to be on the show, as well as having the correct lower third for as many as 6 participants in a Zoom meeting. And
All
Oliver,
right.
where do you think we should pick up? Should we just start at modifying the script, or do we want to talk about
Well,
a little bit about
I
what?
think we should go back and see and look at the layouts
Yes.
and whatever you have already designed, and then start from there. If we want lower thirds, then we need to add lower thirds. If we want Mukana, we need to add Mukana, right? So um, let's take a step back and look at
Yeah.
what layouts we want to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also, we can actually, one thing we didn't do, which I'd like to do today, is also get to testing, getting the questions from the Mukana interface into here. And actually, I have my own Mukana interface, so I can actually test this here. So we'll get to that, but I think we should probably look at the layouts where we left it here. And I'll have the web browser pulled up in front of me here on another computer, but I should probably just open it up here. So let me just pull that up because we're going to need to also switch between everybody. So let me do that now.
So Alexander, I always noticed that you are opening the remote control via the preferences, but there is actually a button in the toolbar that opens it directly. So you
I
don't need
did
to
not
go
know
to,
that. Where would that
yeah,
be?
it's the second button on the left from the HUD in the middle. Here we go. Yes.
Ah, there we go. Okay, well there you go. See, I'm always learning something on this type of thing. So that's good. I didn't know there was a shortcut there. Perfect. I usually just have it bookmarked, but it's good to know that there's a button there as well. Okay. So yeah, so let's look at some of these layouts. So we've created some split screens. I'm probably gonna need to create a few more here. So we've got one with 4 boxes. There's one with 6. Excuse the repeated people here. We'll have to fix that. And then there's this one with the host being primary focus here, and then 4 other boxes. Probably gonna have to create a few more Um, Oliver, do you want to start with the lower thirds? So one of the things that we didn't get to do is figure out, do we need layer variants, like 6 different layer variants for the lower thirds for this to work properly? Do we need to make more changes to the script? Like, how is that going to work? I'm not entirely
Um,
certain.
right now, I think the best solution is to have six or eight layer variants and have the script populate all eight according to the names of the people in the in the Zoom sources. So we would iterate, I mean, not iterate, but we would go have actually 7 steps in the in the script, or 8 steps to 8 times capture the name from the Zoom source and put that into the lower third variant. So we have lower third variant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we will populate that from from what names are in the Zoom sources. I think that's the most sensible
Okay.
approach right now. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So let's just actually, Oliver, I'm having an issue getting John in here. I don't know. He's not showing up in the. I can see him in the Zoom source, but he's not showing. I'm looking at the web interface here, and I'm trying to get him to come in, and he's not. The button isn't doing anything for some reason. Why is it not doing that? Hold on.
I think it's probably
Oh, there it is.
there he is.
I was on the wrong spot.
I think it's probably a question of getting all the assignments correct. So we have 7 Zoom sources or 8 Zoom sources, and to assign them all to the proper things. That's probably I think the
Okay.
biggest challenge.
All right, so we need 6 layer variants for the lower third. So I've only got one here, so we'll just go up here. Let's just create add layer variant.
We
Um,
do we have a template of what they should look like?
for the design,
Yes.
no,
Okay.
there's because office hours uses actually kind of think of it. I don't think there are any lower thirds for extra hours because office hours uses SPX for generating that stuff. So I think it's kind of just up to me. Unless people tell me otherwise, I'm just going to design my own and make my own
Okay.
and kind of just start with something basic, right? I just want to we can tweak it later, but as far as the design is concerned, but I just want to have something right
Do
now
you
that
know
works.
what the office hours font is?
I don't know. I actually
Okay.
don't know what they're using. It
Yeah.
looks like it looks like it could be Helvetica, but I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, because that's the first thing I would do is like use the proper font. So that's already like halfway there.
Right.
Um, yeah. But now we have like 7 different variants. So we have to go into the script and just do like 8 variants of the script as well. So I think you would go into the automation layer and open the
Why
script.
why why 8 variants if we're going to have
No,
6
no, no, no,
people?
no, no. I'm confusing you. Sorry. So the script has to have like the same thing doing 8 times. So if you look at the script, what it does is it's capturing, it's getting it's getting the JSON from the first source, then gets the Zoom username from that source, and then puts that into the lower third. And we do have to repeat that 8 times, basically. So
Okay.
that's the sort of the challenge, is that to get all the numbers right. So maybe we should, Achim, should we make like a list of um, you know, variable names so we don't have to, is that, how should we do that?
Um, yes, I would uh, grab all content that is repeated and put them in variables. So if something has to be changed, then we just have one place to change it. For example, the long URL to set the name in the lower third actually, because we only want to exchange the variant ID, but not the layer ID. We can keep the complete URL with the layer ID in one variable and just use the variable to fill the HTTP request command. So how to do that? I would suggest that you put in the first line of the code, you put in set variable, and then you inserted it basically.
Okay, is this going at the beginning of the line?
Yes.
Just make a new line.
Yeah, it's a new line, new command. Make some space at the top for a bunch of commands. But yeah, so you can put in there set variable, bracket, opening bracket, dollar, layer URL or base URL, for example, layer base URL, comma, and then copy from the last command, from the HTTP starting point until the first variants slash, just with the
Just the URL.
yeah,
Just the
URL.
URL.
The URL without the HTTP request command at the beginning.
Oh,
so
I see. Okay.
Starting with the commas are no, it's not commas. Quotation marks. Now got it. Quotation marks. We need to start with the quotation marks and up to the third line, starting variants and the slash. And this you just copy it to the clipboard and paste it at the beginning, right?
Like that.
Then we close the quotation marks and close the brackets. So now we have layer base URL as a variable, the dollar layer base URL, and you can copy the name, the variable name to the clipboard and use this instead of all the text you put in below, or the URL below. So I want you to copy dollar layer base URL from the first line. All right, and now replace all the quotation marks HTTP from the last command, that part that we copied, starting with the quotation marks until variants slash, that part you can remove from here.
So this part's going away.
Correct.
Including the
before the quotation mark, you insert the current paste clipboard that's containing the layer base URL, and then we need a plus sign. Here we go. So what this does, to make it
easier readable, I would put a space before and after the plus.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more common.
So now
so
easier to read.
This, and then again, after the variant ID, we see the question mark include, and question mark include until what have we the title name. We can copy all of that and put that again in a different variable at the beginning, because this won't change for any of the other commands. So this goes until the last line where it states quotation mark, plus dollar name. But plus dollar name needs to be right here. Just copy until title backslash quotation marks.
Can you draw on the screen?
Oh, you
Did I get
try
that?
to
Did
draw.
I get that right?
That's correct. You copy that part and create a new variable at the beginning.
Okay. Just paste it there.
Yeah, well, you just write in, and before that, you need to write set variable opening bracket dollar layer, call it layer URL part 2, or
Set variable, and then do we need the parentheses there?
Slash
opening bracket, yeah,
dollar.
dollar layer URL part 2.
Just layer URL, not layer base URL.
The variable name actually doesn't need to be any meaningful thing.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I would say the base of an URL is the beginning, and this is a middle part. So I
Okay,
would say
gotcha.
a layer URL part 2. But it actually doesn't matter really.
Okay. And what else do I put at the end here?
A comma and a quotation mark again. Now we need at the end of this command, we need closing brackets. A closing bracket.
Right at the end here?
Yeah, correct.
So there's
No.
it's
Bracket, not quotation mark.
oh. Gotcha.
Closing bracket. Here we go. So now you can copy the layer URL variable name again with the dollar sign as a second command here. Yeah. Let's want to see if I can draw. Can I draw?
Maybe you could take control of Alex's computer?
Oh, we can actually can draw. Let me
Sorry,
see.
what am I copying?
Yeah.
Layer URL, $ layer URL. Yeah.
Right. Trash it. Sorry for mark pen highlighter, vanishing pen. So now we add, sorry, I didn't follow you exactly. So this part needs to be copied
Including
to
the
clipboard
comma?
without a comma.
Without the comma. Okay.
Just
Okay.
the variable name, and we want to
Yep.
use the variable name right here. So you can remove all of this.
Which portion? I don't see you drawing on the screen. Oh, here we
go. Oh, interesting.
I just saw something, but it disappeared here. So this section here.
Stop. Yeah, not quite. From the starting point was correct, but only until the first plus sign right here.
Okay, so this part here.
You selected the first line again, starting with the question mark, just below.
Starting with the question mark. Okay, this part.
Until the double quotation.
Okay, gotcha.
That's correct. So you can remove that part completely. Now enter quotation mark. So this is closing this the big. So this makes one string, and this is the ID of the variant in a string. So quotation marks starting and ending will always define one string. And after that, we now add with the plus sign the dollar layer URL.
And where is that going?
Yeah, where the cursor is. Space plus.
So
Space.
always plus space, and then I guess you can paste because you copied the variable name already. Here we go. So the space is not really necessary, but it's common to do. So you can easily see where string starts, where variable name starts.
So I can even do this in terms of format.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
That is easier to look at for sure.
So yeah, so now you can see that the last command had a lot of code. It was barely readable. Now we have very readable command, and even we can put the variant ID again at the beginning into a variable. So then in the command there is no actually string or something. However, I would think that this is enough of shortage, and we can do so for the first of the three commands we use also. You see try to draw again. It makes sense. This part here of that string is also always the same for each command we are going to use, because we are always referring to the same document, but the second part of that will be the actual source ID, and this will change. So we keep the first part in a variable, and the second part we put in for each command. So let's shorten it again. So
and that would need, so we need a separate line for all the Zoom sources. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So those three commands we need to copy multiple times, so 6 times, I guess. But first, I would suggest that you put this part into a new variable. So from here to here, you do the same trick again. Without the command. Sorry, I messed it up because just from here until here. Correct.
Now can we put, just for me to read this more easily, since we're going to have multiple sections that we're copy pasting, I'm not familiar with JSON. Are there notes that we can put as a heading to separate each, to explain to, say, another person that was looking at this, so they can very clearly see this is for Zoom source 1, this is for Zoom source 2, etc.?
I understand. Sure, you can put in comments in the code. Comments are so you need to have a new line for it, and you put in double slashes to start a comment. So now whatever you put in here, mimoLive will ignore it.
And do I need to have slashes at the end like this?
No, it's just the beginning of the line. But the double slash needs to be exactly at the beginning of the line.
Oh, right. On that line of where the code is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So if you want to have a comment in the code, then you need to have a new line starting with double slashes.
So, and that would be at the beginning of the line where the code starts, so right here?
So this will outcomment the command, actually. So this won't start, so this won't run the HTTP request JSON.
You don't want, and
anymore.
You don't want that.
Correct. So everything that goes in that line that you entered Zoom source 1 would be ignored. So if you are in debug mode and debugging things, then sometimes it's very need to outcomment actual commands so that mimoLive won't execute them. Depends.
Right.
Sure.
And does that look okay?
That sounds good. That looks
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Okay. Going back to our code here. So you copied this part
Yes.
to the clipboard, and now you can put in here another set variable, or I would say source base URL, for example.
This is all one word. Source base URL.
Just follow the syntax of the code above it. So set
Okay.
variable brackets dollar. So how the script works is you have a command and then always opening brackets, closing brackets. So this makes one command, and a command takes multiple parameters, and those are always in a list separated by commas. So that's how the scripting language syntax actually works. So if you can follow along.
Does that
So
look
now
okay?
we have, that looks perfect to me. So you can use the source base URL variable and replace this content here to use it exactly like we did below here.
So I have to go back into Mimo and copy that unique ID for that second source, is what you're saying.
Oh, we keep the ID of the source. The ID of the source actually is this one. We keep that part, right?
Okay. But the other string at the end though isn't that the unique, that's that person, that Zoom source, that specific one, right?
That's the part I just marked.
Right.
And
Okay. And
the
so
base URL is just the same for all. The source base URL variable is the same for all sources we are going to fetch data from.
right. Okay. And so do I need to now go back to Mimo and copy the URL for the second person?
We're going to do so once we create all the separate commands, but still we
Okay,
want
got
to, yeah, still we want to replace this part here with the variable we just created. So you can get rid of all that by replacing it with this source base URL variable that goes here. Okay.
Okay, so I'm deleting this section here, starting with the HTTP.
Yes. So now the source base URL, dollar base source base URL, this variable goes before the quotation marks, just before the quotation marks, and then followed by a space plus space, just to have it there.
So I have to add space plus space?
Yeah, but first you put in the source base URL variable name, this dollar. Correct. That looks good to me.
So it goes right after source. So source JSON, comma, source base URL.
Correct. So the command HTTP request JSON we got here is using this URL. We are creating a URL. Sorry about that. This is the URL we are going to fetch. And the command HTTP request JSON will put in the data it fetches, will put it in this variable. So we can work with this variable later on, and we do so just here in the next command. So we are reading from that data. That was the path to the data we want to see, and the result of that goes into the name variable. And the name variable then is used to push to our lower third. So I
Oh,
guess now we have a really short, neat code, starting with the command, the comment source, zoom source one. And I would actually now go ahead and copy all of those lines 6 times. And then we are going to replace the IDs from mimoLive and the original sources.
all right. Well, that looks nice and neat to me.
Yeah, looks good to me too. So now we need to get the IDs for each source and each layer variant we want to correspond to it. So zoom source one is already set. I hope you can remember which source this was and which layer variant we are working on. However, yeah, that's
Yeah, that's I think that's Elena in the meeting, whatever
okay.
that Elena was.
So now go ahead to back to the mimoLive document and right click on the second zoom source, I guess. So this was, I guess we worked on the first zoom source. Now we see if we work on the second. Or did
I
we
think.
just,
May I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
sure.
Maybe make a list of all the sources that you know Jamal is this, Elena is this. Make it as a separate list that you can't exchange it, and then you also find out which one you already used.
Yeah, and I think just for extra hours too, specifically, is that usually Grant is the host on that show, but sometimes when he's not available, Guy will step in. So usually, as far as from an organizational perspective, the way I like to lay these Zoom sources out is I usually put the hosts, like the important people, right at the top of the list. So if we're going to be doing scripts, I would probably want to put Zoom source one as the host, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So so
So
right now
maybe we just
I don't
go
think we
ahead.
have the right ID because the ID right now is for Elena, who is all the way down here. We should probably change this and make
Yeah,
this one the correct. Make that first source the host, basically the first
yeah.
one on the list.
So I would follow Andre's suggestion. So you right click on the first Zoom source, copy the API endpoint, because unfortunately this will contain more than we need. Create a new document and just paste it in there. So you see, we just can get rid of all the first characters. Yeah, that's the thing we want to see. Now, so you can do this for all the 6 of the Zoom sources one by one. So we have all of them uh, in the list.
Okay. All right, number 3, copy endpoint. And while I'm doing this, does this seem pretty logical to everyone watching?
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yep.
Okay, that's 4.
And just a question: these numbers will always stay the same for these 6 Zoom sources, regardless which meeting I use?
Correct. So those are the IDs that mimoLive gives them internally in the document. So if you save the document, those IDs will be preserved.
Copy.
So
Thank you.
those IDs doesn't have anything to do with Zoom at all.
Yeah.
And they will be different if you have a different document.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So starting with source 1. This is the incorrect one. Make sure that you are in the first command right after the comment. Zoom source 1, and then you have HTTP request JSON and replace this ID. Yeah, correct.
Okay. And what is, just remind me, this last line here, HTTP request, what is this ID?
This is the variant ID of the lower third. So this is the date where we're pushing the data to. So we need also...
We also need to change that too, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you want to do it right now, then you also need to have create the list of all the variant IDs for your lower thirds.
Okay, let me just update all of these so I don't get mixed up, and then I'll go in and copy the other IDs for the variants for the lower thirds. Okay, so we've done the first one, so that's Zoom source 1, Zoom source 2, Zoom source 3.
I don't know if I can ask a question, if it's going to disturb Alex while you're copying.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Achim, when you have the command set source, can you have a space before the bracket? Does that affect it in any way? Because there was a space up at the top.
Not quite sure. So I try to write the script parser as flexible as it could be. Sometimes I take some shortcuts to make it much easier for me to program the parser.
You
so
see
I'm not quite sure.
You see set variable just before the Zoom source. That was
correct.
My question. Yeah.
So in this third command, there is set variable space. I guess you can actually have a space there. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so those IDs have been updated for the sources. Now we got to grab the variant lower third.
Okay.
So there's the first one. So I believe if I just right click here, I would go copy layer variant API endpoint.
Correct.
Okay, so that's source
and again,
one. So
again, make a list first, because again, there will be a lot of data in there we don't need.
Oh no, Alex, go back and save this, and save it as Zoom source 1, 2, 3, and so on, and then make a new one, or underneath call it lower third 1, 2, 3. So you have one document with all the info.
Nice idea.
I'm just so glad that Alex can touch type quickly. Otherwise, we'd have fallen asleep here.
Okay, and so that's the source. Yeah, Zoom source 1 ID, and that is going to be. So we don't need any of this stuff, right?
Correct. And also until variant. You can remove everything up until variants in the back.
So that
That's
can
starting
go.
with E9. That can go. So it's starting with E9, your ID. Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I should probably point out layer variant ID.
You may call it lower third variant ID. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Next one. Everything. Okay, so that's going away. Okay, so that was 2. Okay, so that's 3.
Yeah, Achim, I hope you're inspired to build a script just to generate all of this, because we're going round and round in circles doing the same thing. Or give us the prompt to put into ChatGPT so we can just feed that table and get the output file.
Yeah. So what I try to I feed in more or less the manual page for the automation layer to ChatGPT and try to understand the language. But as Oliver already mentioned, it started to invent some commands. So probably I need to implement some of those. I see, for example, this repetitive code here for zoom source 1 to 6 should definitely be in a loop, and you should be able to define a list and then just walk through the list, and that would make this much easier. And already we have a loop, but I looked it up. I can't remember if we actually can create a list easily. So I guess this is currently the way to do it.
Okay, so I'm just copying the, just systematically going through here and updating everything, the IDs.
Yeah.
Very important. Save your changes to your documents. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's all the IDs
Right.
have been updated. So what now? Do we test it?
I would suggest so, yeah. You copy all the code and put it in the automation layer and see if it works.
Now, there's no save button in this external editor. I'm assuming if I close this, it's just going to save it, right?
Yeah. It put it in that it mirrors the box there, so you
Right.
need to save the mimoLive document in.
Okay, so now I guess the test that I gotta add the buttons to the interface, right?
Or you can just start the automation, and then it should already feed in all the low thirds. And it didn't work. Can you click on the automation layer again so we can see what's going on? Okay, so one problem is that it won't run the HTTP commands correctly. If they run in timeout, then usually there's something wrong with the URL. I'm not quite sure what we did wrong. It looked pretty okay to me. So we can try to debug the code.
Okay.
So you go back to the mimoLive and switch on debugging. I guess first you need to shut down the layer itself, so it's off, correct? And then you switch in below the debugging enabled switch, you can switch from the mode from continuously to single step, and that's what I would suggest. So single stepping means you can step through your code one by one and see what mimoLive thinks about it. So now start the automation layer again. And you see first line, it is not executed yet. You see there's a variable already set for you. That's the document ID. So maybe we can insert it also, but currently it's not so important. And you hit the next step button in the debugging section. And then you see the variable layer-based URL is set. You can execute the next command. Layer URL is set. Looks good to me too. Next step. And now it's set up the source-based URL also. Looks good to me too. And now the next one will be the HTTP JSON request. Just hit the next step button and you get some results. So the first call did work. Looks like we have data. So just go on and click the next step again. The name is Jamal. So I need to remove my lines here. So the name got fetched correctly. And now the next step would be pushing the data to the lower third. And this seemed not to work out. So yeah, click the next step button. And now we see that the HTTP request command doesn't work. So why does this not work?
Where do you see? So can you explain how you're determining that it's not working here?
It tried to execute the command at the top, and then there is a countdown running. Especially the command HTTP request needs to have a timeout, otherwise it wouldn't go any further anyways. So the timeout is set to 10 seconds. If the server doesn't answer within 10 seconds, then it proceeds. That's how that works. And even in single step mode, you see that there is a timeout running. And then usually my assumption is that every call you do HTTP request is executed within the 10 seconds at least. So that should be immediate in this case. So I guess the URL is not the correct one. So what we can do now, you can see all the output from here, from the above. You can see also here in this text box. So you can open the text box with this button again, and we see the URL in all its glory that want to push the data to. No, we don't see it because we see it above here. No. Interesting. Sure enough, it won't output the content of that.
Achim, one hint. I believe when Alex modified one command earlier, he erased one slash too much. Maybe you can search for this.
Okay, let's have a look. Did you mean in the middle of a command or actually at the beginning or the end?
I don't recall exactly, but it was some command we modified after these variable things, and he erased a big block of the command and pasted in the short URL thing. So it is one of the commands that was much bigger before, but as I don't have programmer's knowledge, I don't know.
Okay, let's see.
And could you paste it into Visual Studio Code or something and see where the error is?
I was just going to say, I need a proper code editor like BBEdit.
Yeah. Maybe BBEdit don't recognize the code structure, so it won't colorize it anyways. Now I would one problem we right now have is we can't see the URL mimoLive produced to actually try to push the data to the lower third, so we can't actually see what's going on. So I would suggest that we
double check that the base the layer ID is correct for the lower third layer.
So I mean, it worked. Probably we need to check this. However, I would suggest that we put in some debugging code first and run it again and see if we get the correct URL in total. Source base URL, layer base URL. So I would suggest that we grab. That's my pen. So try to duplicate this, or duplicate this command, and you just put it in a line above or so. And now replace the command itself from HTTP request to set variable again, set variable. And now after the opening bracket, you can put in a variable name like a dollar complete URL. We want to have and then a comma. So now we capture the complete URL in this variable called complete URL, and we can even use it in the next command, but currently it's not so important. So this step here is only to see what mimoLive is generating from this long command. And after that,
Achim?
Yeah.
There is at the end of the HTTP request, there's one of those things missing. See that?
What do you think? No, I don't see it yet. So let's just try that. So before the HTTP request command, you can put in a less than, no, bigger than sign for in its own line, and this makes a breakpoint for the debugger, so we can run the script continuously instead of single stepping, and the debugger will break at this breakpoint and stop there.
Okay. Should I
So-
paste this in and just run it?
Yeah, copy the complete code again and replace it here. Then switch the debugger, or yeah, then shut down the layer first.
Does
Oh,
the
actually-
debugger need to be on?
Yeah. Shut down the layer completely, so it's gray. The live button needs to be gray. So just hit it again. Okay, so, and you can switch in the debugging section, you can switch the mode from single step to continuously. So now once you start the layer, it should run until the breakpoint. Here we go. So now we can see the complete URL, and we see that it doesn't, so it didn't, for some reason it didn't executed the expression. That's interesting. It could be the case because the command set variable won't take expressions. My bad. Give me a second. I need to think about that.
Of course.
Okay. So we need to replace, I'm sorry for this, we need to replace the command set variable and with concatenate or concat, just concat. So replace this set variable with concat, C-O-N cat. Right. This should work. So try it again. Also we are in the text editor again. Okay.
By the way, I noticed the automation layer doesn't turn off automatically. It goes yellow. Why is that?
The automation layer is currently set to be switching off automatically, and then the mimoLive is awaiting the done command from the automation layer itself. But if you kill a layer manually, then you need to actually kill it again, because usually if you have lower third, for example, and you press the button first time, then you don't kill the layer, but the layer will do an outro animation. And the automation layer has no automation outro, except if you switch it to manually, then it runs a second, actually a third script. So there are 3 scripts running, and then you can have a third script that it started and you shut it down. So this is depending on how you set up the automation layer.
Okay.
Okay.
So
you did put in the new script with the concat command, and then just let it run again, so we can see what the concat came Yeah, now we have the URL. Now, I need to remove my lines here. Please, can you open the status text box at the bottom? Now find the complete URL and actually copy the URL and put it into a browser.
Which
And,
URL? There's several in here.
Okay, so there's only one complete URL variable, and that's the content of it. We want to, so that you grab from here all the way down to Jamal Carter, excluding the last quotation mark. Yeah, and copy that and put it in a browser. That should work. If it doesn't work, let's see.
It says error.
So there's an error, and that means that the JSON is probably messed up, as Andre already pointed out. So we need to take a closer look at the content of the URL at the end, because it needs to be a valid JSON. Can you just open a new text window and paste the URL again so we have access to the complete URL? Now you can get rid of everything until this update here. Sorry, but so we need to, so you can remove all of that because we need just the opening and closing stuff. Here we go. So this needs to make up one JSON content. Let me see. The backslashes just escape the quotation marks. Again, opening, closing. Aha. Here we go. So here is a missing backslash for the quotation mark.
Yes.
Correct. So we need to put in this quotation mark at this backslash again. And
missing a quotation mark in the.
Is it a backslash outside of the quote mark?
Achim.
Like that?
Achim, I think it's missing a quotation mark. Escape quotation mark. There needs to be, after the dollar name plus, needs to be another quotation mark in the code.
let me see. Let me see. So the name plus that opens the string. That's not the one we are after. Then there is a backslash quotation.
But that needs to be escaped. So there needs a double quotation marks basically.
Double backslashes.
Is the escape character backslash?
Yes. So as you can see here.
Yeah. Okay. Double backslash. Yes.
So
where am I putting
that? You're putting it right after the backslash is already in there. You need to put in again double backslashes. So there need to be 3 backslashes.
Like that in a row?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking right now. Is this correct? Yep, I guess so. Let's see. So, however, we need to put in this, or we can test it. We have already the complete URL, and we can test it outside the automation layer. So I would suggest that you go back to this text press undo and try to put in because we need to have the complete URL, right? And then we need to put in here, we need to put in 1 backslash after the R. Right. So now try to push this to the browser. My lines. It's still not working.
Same thing.
Yeah, not okay. I guess that's so stupid. I guess in the browser there don't need to be the backslashes. The backslashes are actually for the code only. So not quite sure what's going on right now. But we have multiple backslashes and doesn't make sense.
The escaping of the quotation marks doesn't need to be done in the URL in the browser, so we should stay in the mimoLive automation layer and see if that works. Just copy that over and look at the.
So do you copy the whole script over again?
But I'm currently not quite sure about the double quotations and double backslashes because those are only needed here for the code. I'm not quite sure why we are actually seeing them in the debug output. What did we mess up here? I'm not quite sure if this is the right direction right now.
Can we ask ChatGPT for help?
We can, but I guess it will come up with a very creative solution to this problem.
I see.
I just did we do wrong? Because I'm a little bit confused that there is in the complete URL output, in the complete URL there are backslashes. That doesn't make sense to me. Or do it? Or does it?
Well, that is the escape, right? Escape character.
Yeah, but the escape character is only for the coding, not for in the URL. There don't need to be any escaping in the URL.
Ah, I see what you mean.
So please, can you show me again the source of complete URL? So or the output we got there. So this is the output. This is the value. I mean, why do we get those backslashes here? Those doesn't make any sense to me right now. It doesn't need to be there. So if you remove all of those, I guess the URL could work in Safari.
Achim, I think we get these because we put them in the set variable, and we shouldn't do that, right?
Still, it's exactly the same as in the command below. So here we go. So this works.
Different results, no error now.
Yeah, and this is the response is I changed it. So that's what I'm reading here.
We shouldn't have the escape characters in the variables, Achim, I think.
Yeah,
Because the
that's what I'm
variable,
saying. But the
yeah,
point is, in the code, you need to have the escape characters because otherwise you can't put in a quotation marks.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure why the concat. So can you just scroll up and see the concat, and then we just put in layer URL, and listen, layer URL has, why does it have the escape characters copied into the variable? That doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, do we have smart quotes? Would that be the case?
Oh, I think TextEdit does that automatically.
Yeah. So that could be the problem.
Yeah. Smart quotes. Should I turn that off?
Yeah. But I'm not sure if it actually will replace it in
It
document.
won't.
You.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't think it. So like if I change this, if I delete one of these quotes and if I put it in, let's see if it changes it. Yeah, it looks different.
Mm-hmm.
Is that any different?
So maybe you can search and replace them all in one step.
Probably. Well, this won't take very long to.
Oh, actually, it will. We have a lot of quotations.
There are a lot of
Marks there.
quotations, yeah.
Actually, I had a hard time in mimoLive actually to tell the editor to do not use smart quotes.
Smart, not very smart.
Right. So actually, you can get rid of or to at least two of those backslashes there. They didn't. They weren't wrong. They were wrong at this point.
Just one?
Yeah, just one. This should be
But
correct
don't
now.
miss that quotation mark there.
You know what? Let me just try this. If I go replace all, if I just copy this quote.
Yeah.
And just go like that. Okay.
Found 70 of them. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's it? 70? Only 70. Should I try running this again with the debugging?
Yep. I think so. That makes a lot of sense. So just ran through, no timeout until now. And I guess you can, so it looks okay to me. But still there are the backslashes in there. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I can see lots of backslashes. So you don't want on the output. These are not supposed to be in there.
Yes. That's, or at least I think so. I mean,
Well, that's working. It's pulling Jamal.
yeah, but this is from our test with the browser. So maybe you rename the Jamal Carter in
Oh
the
yeah.
lower third and run the code in the automation again.
Oh, because we have
That's quite frustrating.
Yeah, it's because we have
If we push the URL with Safari, you can remember, and this would actually execute the command and replace Jamal in there. So just go into mimoLive, the lower third, rename it to John Doe, and we run the automation script again.
rename the variable.
The title in the
layer
lower third itself.
Oh, in this here.
Yeah. So we can see if it actually does something.
And then
run
the script.
Yeah, run the script again. But I guess we have the breakpoint set before the HTTP request will actually update the lower third. So go select the automation layer again, please, and start it. It should run to line 7. And now you can single step with next step and see if that works. HTTP request, yeah, and again. No, it doesn't work. Bad. Very frustrating. Sorry about that.
Well, that's why we're doing that. That's why we're working through this stuff. Someone in maybe Oliver, could you look at the Zoom chat because people are posting comments in there and asking questions. Jeff Simmons wrote something. I don't know if that's an old chat or newer.
Yeah. Jeff, there is a Zoom, a Discord channel called Workshop in the mimoLive Expert Discord channel, Discord. If you're not part of that yet, I can post the invite link. Hang on.
And Jeff is asking too, do smart codes have an in and an out as different characters because you only replaced one? That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe that's the issue too, that I didn't properly.
If you didn't replace them, that's the issue. Yes, you have to replace all the smart quotes.
Starting at the very top. Can you actually see which ones are smart codes?
I can't tell.
Yeah.
Normally they look very different because it's the smart quotes I think are the curly quotes, right? Not the straight quotes.
Right.
But with this font, the typeface that I'm using, it's very hard to tell. I wonder if I changed.
Achim, do you have a programmer's editor? Maybe you can just put this file into Discord and then throw it into your programmer's editor, and you should be able to see it straight away.
I can try. I would use BBEdit actually, but so far they look good. They look good to me. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me right now.
Hey, Alex, try something that's not a monospace font, like a Helvetica or something. Just see if the quotes look different.
Yeah, let me see. That's Helvetica Noi.
Yeah, they look the same.
Is it worthwhile me to install? Should I maybe try BBEdit? Would it help if I put this into BBEdit?
Maybe BBEdit would show the smart quotes definitely.
Question is, do they still have a free basic version of BBEdit? Because I don't have a license for it.
Yes, they do. I'm using it for free.
That formatting looks terrible. I have to change this, I guess, to JSON. I can't read this because the font is too tiny. Let's see, how do we change the font size here?
I think it was in the appearance, and yeah. Well, those inverted question marks are interesting.
I guess it doesn't wrap text by default.
Yeah, you can go and to there's yeah.
Okay, and then where do you go? There's somewhere in here in the menu where you can change the type of, I guess it doesn't automatically, you have to set it to the type of code you're working with. Where do you go in and change like this to JSON?
Well, we don't have like there is no setting for mimoLive code. So
JSON is just the data structure, and
Oh,
our
I see.
code is not written.
Oh, okay.
There's no. Oh, here's
what
a
is this
special
upside?
character
What is that?
that doesn't belong there.
Yeah, but how come I don't see that in TextEdit?
Yeah, those
I
are
wonder.
invisible things, and there's this one here. Oh, you copied it multiple times.
So the lesson is never use a text editor to do for coding. not the text edit app in Mac OS anyways.
Yeah.
Let me try this again. I'm gonna copy paste this. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something weird happened with text edit.
So you're currently on single step in the mode. You can
Oh,
switch to
yeah.
continue again. Oh, big deal.
Okay, there's line 7.
Yeah. So can you just open this text box again? And we see if there are backslashes. There's still backslashes in the content. So we can. Just I would try something quick on my computer and see if this makes any difference.
Do you want to share your screen?
Just
Do I need
hacking something together. So
do I need to copy paste the code that we're working with here and send it to you?
probably that would be actually help.
Let me see if I can do that in Zoom. Can I send attachments? Select file. Okay, hold on a second.
Just send it in Discord.
Good point.
Interesting. Okay,
This
I
is real
found,
life, folks.
yeah,
So
I found a problem, and this may be is maybe a bug in the automation layer actually. So I got a solution for the workaround at least. The issue seems to be that the set variable doesn't take care about the backslashes. So we can change the set variable to a different command, the concat command, and this will do the right thing. I'm not sure why this is different, so that I need to debug in my code. But I guess we can move on by using the workaround.
I can't send it to you on Discord because I don't think I think I have to add you as a friend and you're not showing as online.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do this
Yeah,
another way.
Alex, never mind. I actually
Okay.
I got the solution, so we can fix it on your end.
Okay, so I'm going back to the code.
Okay, so can you scroll up all the way to the top, please, and replace in the first line we had set variable, so you can in the first one,
Yeah.
and put in concat instead. That's simple.
So the very first line.
Yeah. And also in the third line and the fifth line. And please do also in the third line.
One,
Actually, it shows you the line numbers on the left, so makes it much easier.
this one too. So we're getting rid of set variable.
Correct.
Okay, so concat.
So that
concat,
should be it, because we don't use set variable anymore. We don't know exactly what's going on, so.
And what is this doing when we run this? When we change this to concat on all of these lines, what is that doing?
Concat I added Concat as a separate command to deal with strings, and set variable is just setting the variable to a value, and it determines on its own if it's a string or a number or something else. But
there's
this set
we got different results now, so there's no backslashes here that I see at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I expected. So if you go back to the debug section and switch to single step, and now step over to the next command, and again step over to the next command. So now you see in the layer stack, we switched from John Doe to Jamal Carter. So this worked.
Right.
At least. Okay, so you can switch off the debugging, and then it should, I guess it should run into all the things. Here we go.
Okay. So turn on the automation, then try the layer.
Achim, did we not have that pause in there? Did we not leave a pause in the script?
Oh, this is a breakpoint, actually. It will only break there if the debugger is switched on. It's a debugging breakpoint.
Okay.
We can remove it if it's interesting for you. So Alexander, it already ran, so it won't change anything more, I guess. So it doesn't make any difference if you actually select the lower third or not. It will automate the automation layer will do it work anyways.
So what I don't understand though is why does the automation layer turn off right away? Wouldn't it have to be on running at all times in order for this to work?
No, currently it's a one-shot script. So you click on the button and it will capture or transport all the names to the lower third variants, and then it will stop. So it won't update the next, it won't update if you change names in the sources.
And what?
But we can do a loop, and then it will run forever.
And so we'd have to test it to see, but what do you think would happen if a Zoom user renamed themselves? Would that break anything, or would the script just continue? Is the script going to continuously check the status of the name and pull it? Like how? I'm not entirely clear on that.
So currently it just runs once and it stops. Okay. If you want to run it all the time in a circle, so you need to either put in a loop, or you can switch it to run on manually stopping.
So I'm just trying to anticipate all possible circumstances. So for example, if we get a panelist that comes onto Zoom and I don't like their username, or maybe they don't have any name in there, I'm going to ask them to rename themselves, but that means I have to remember to re-trigger the script to update all the names, right?
Correct. Yes.
It's not the end. It's not the end. It's not a big deal, but it's just something I have to think about.
You can actually put the automation to run all the time, so you don't have to remember it. So switch it to manually, but now you need to put the script from the on live section to the while live section. So so how that works is when you switch on the layer, the automation layer, you start it. It will run the on start script once. Then it will run the while all the time. And if you turn off the automation, it will kill the while script and run the turn off script. So you can remove the on live script completely. Just have it in while live. That would that's it.
And then now that it's set to manually, so if I turn on this layer, the layer is going to stay on forever.
Correct.
Now,
and it will
is there
automatically update any
okay?
changes. So you can try it on your own. So go to the Jamal Carter Zoom source and change it to anything else, and then you actually select a new participant.
Oh, just like change it here.
Yeah, and then we need to wait a couple of seconds. So you see the lower third already changed.
Ah, well, look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it will pull the name from the source and push it to the lower third automatically.
Look at that, and it changed back to Jamal, so it's working. Now, is there any appreciable?
So even
Do I?
there's a neater thing if you now set the participant to automatic, which is basically what Zoom sends you. It will update automatically to whoever is on the screen in the
Oh, look at
automatic.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have to wait a little bit before Michelle stops talking and then someone else gets talking, but then they will update the script will update that lower third to the next
Yeah.
person that's speaking.
Very cool.
Um,
Is there any additional? Do I have to worry about CPU resources having the script continuously running like that?
sure.
I mean, it will cause some CPU performance, but I guess it's not too big of
Like we're
big
talking
deal.
like one, like really tiny, like almost like not even worth thinking about, like 1% and 2% kind of
Yeah,
like small.
Or you
really
can
small.
check if switch
I
off the
mean,
automation and then you see what the CPU changes.
Okay, well, I'm looking at iStat. It says 78%, 79%. Okay, so if I go now, it says turn off automation layer. Not really seeing much of a difference.
Yep.
yeah, that's
Couple
what I
percent at the
expected.
most. Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really not even worth worrying about.
Yeah, that's because the automation layer is just executing one command at a time at a frame, actually.
Yeah.
And it even needs to wait for the web server to answer and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can put in some sleep commands that if you, for example, if you won't push
Mm-hmm.
on external web servers too hard and have a loop and constantly requesting some uh, stock data, for example, then the stock data won't change any second anyways. So you can put in a sleep command, sleep for 5 seconds, and then it will only fetch the data every 5 seconds. So if that makes sense.
Yeah,
In this
this is
case, it
awesome.
makes totally sense to have it instantly, almost instantly, the change of the name, of course. You
Yeah,
won't
I agree.
wait for 5 seconds to update the name.
Well, that makes me happy. I think that pretty much accomplishes what we wanted, what we set out to do with the auto naming with the lower thirds. There's still some more work to do, but um, what does everybody think so far?
I think it's super cool, but in the back of my head, I'm just wondering how do we allocate those lower thirds to specific windows that we've selected
Yeah, so
through,
that was going to be the next thing that I wanted
through
to
the
do because
switching.
so normally what I would want to do is when I cut to someone full screen, I want the lower third to automatically open to that person, right? So and I guess that would be just the browser buttons that I would configure, right?
I think you can do that with just the browser buttons. If you look at the lower the remote control, now you have to have a remote control that allows you to switch the video switcher in the first video switcher there, top the one you use for. I mean, you have to look at what you're using for that layout, and if you use the video switcher that's that's the force from the
Well,
from the
couldn't
top.
we, Oliver? Couldn't we just do this with a layer set? Create a layer set that turns on their video and then turns on the
No,
layer, the variant.
you wouldn't want to do that with the layer set because it's too many layer sets that to I mean you should want to have the layer set do more than just one
Mm-hmm.
action, because if you have one action only, then you can just use a button. You can just what you do is, I mean, if you go and say you want the same, if you go to mimoLive, and then you have to decide which layout are you gonna using for that one up.
Right. Right.
So switch to mimoLive and see what. So which one are you gonna use? Probably the one that says video switcher up here.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the one you want to use for the single user?
I don't know. I mean, this is the first one. This is the first one that we added when we started setting up the template, but I'm not using it right now. Like I don't
Okay.
even think I need these picture in pictures. Like this is the first thing that we set up. This video
Yeah,
switcher,
yeah. No, we
display.
don't.
Like
Yeah,
I
you're
don't think we
correct.
need any of
We
that.
don't need the pip window things, and we don't need the video switcher thing because you can now do that with the sub mixes. We can do that with the pip with the
Yeah.
split screen things.
So let me just
Yeah,
get rid of this then.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So how do you want to do the looking at the single
Well,
person?
yeah, that's a good question. See, the way I do it on my own show, I think is very inefficient because I had to build buttons for, I built a lot of layer sets and then I just built a ton of buttons to do full screen to trigger those layer sets that would go to that person with that lower third on it, which is probably not the most efficient way to do it, like you're saying, too many layer sets.
Yeah,
So
Oliver,
what we could
let's.
do is we could
I'm looking for guidance. I'm looking for your input
yeah
on what you
we
think is.
could make an automation layer, for example, that would, like, if you're anywhere, that would switch on, like, the switcher switch to that source
Yeah,
and turn on the lower third for
yeah,
that source. And then we would have eight, automation variants for each
Mhm,
of the persons.
mhm.
Or we can do that. I mean, and then you would have a button on then you would have buttons on your remote control that just say, guy. And if you press that, guy would be just full screen and his lower third would come
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Alex,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you wanted to, but you deleted the switcher.
Yes.
I did.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that was one switcher. That was the first one that we created. But now if you look at the bottom, we've got all these with Siphon. We
Oh, okay.
created these like
Okay.
The
Okay.
submix, those are the submixes for basically the split screen
Super
thing.
source layers. Yeah.
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 Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. And so, Oliver, you thought of the switcher for getting the full screen one-ups, right? That's a very, very easy way
Yes.
to,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the what you thought about just a second ago is a different approach, and will it lead to more load on the system? So which would resource-wise be maybe the better way as well?
Well, the using an automation layer to just switch to that is not going to take more resources, because
mhm.
that's just one thing to switch. Like, it's going to be the same resources as tapping a button on the remote control, right? So it's not going to be a very different thing. So let's just make one for illustration
My
purposes,
concern,
So
my concern, Oliver, is that I might have to get a new machine now because like I'm already at 80% and I'm not even live streaming and I'm not recording right now.
well, you're
So,
sharing the screen, which is like
well, the sharing the screen takes up
20%.
10%. 10% or whatever, or maybe a little more than that. So, but yeah, it is more CPU than I feel
So,
comfortable with.
Alex, is there a way where you can take mimoLive and split one mimoLive across multiple machines? Like when we're doing the show, can I do some of that?
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, I suppose I could do one system that's just the cutting machine and then set up another one. Go NDI out, I suppose. And then the second one is doing all the ISO records and the live streaming. Is that what you're suggesting?
I don't know how to split it up. I'm wondering,
Well,
can
Oliver,
mimoLive have multiple
wouldn't you?
machines running one show? I don't know.
Right. Oliver, what's the method if you wanted to have one computer as the cutting machine and the second one that does the recording and the encoding? Is NDI the only option to pipe audio or video out of the
If you
program?
do that, I mean, if you do ISO out to a second machine, you can, just as well just record locally.
Right.
That's not
Oh,
gonna.
okay. Yeah.
What you
All
can
right.
do is what you could do is you could have a second machine that also joins the Zoom meeting and does the ISO recording for you
From what
with
from what
grabbing
we
the
just
stuff
I
from.
think we discovered the first part one of this one. We were testing live streaming and recording. What we've actually found now that I think about it is that the M4 processor that I'm using here, because it has H.264 and ProRes encoding, we actually found once I turned on live streaming and turned on recording of I actually tried recording in ProRes the program output, and it didn't really make that much of a difference on the CPU. What is really putting a load on the system right now is all these video switchers. Like if I just turn this off, all my CPU will go down to almost nothing. So it's the video switchers. I mean, the video switches are creating the most flexibility for what we're trying to do, but it is, I do have to acknowledge that it is putting a much larger load on the computer too.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the point. Yeah, the submixes are basically creating like you have to render things like multiple times, and
Yeah, yeah.
so it's like yeah, so it's yeah,
Okay,
submixes
well, we'll leave that
are
for now.
loading.
I'm not gonna concern myself with a processor right now. Let's just get this thing set up correctly here. So, Oliver, what do you suggest? Like, how do we do this thing where I can easily cut to somebody full screen without having tons of layer sets? How would you set up the web buttons so that I could cut
So I
to someone
would,
and
yeah.
trigger the
So
lower third?
let's try this. I mean, I don't know if if it'll work, but let's go and try to set it up.
Okay.
Just go to the remote desk remote thing. Go to control surfaces. No, not edit. Control surface on the other side. Just make a new one just so we can have one that for testing. So it's like full screen, whatever. Yep. Okay. And then you just go and well, let's add the switcher back in because the switcher is what we would want to use in mimoLive. So we go to mimoLive and then we add in a switcher layer below the lower thirds so we can get the yep. The lower thirds on top of it, and then we just assign all the sources. So we have the switcher working, and the content section just source one, just select all
We're
that.
using
No,
not
no, no, no,
source.
no, you were in the right one. So
Yeah, no, I
just
was just checking to see how we set up the source.
yeah, just go source one, select the first one, Jamal, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, yeah, sixth one. No, you skipped one.
Oh, did I
So
skip one?
yeah.
Michelle, and then
Jo-
Anna, and then John.
Okay. So now if we turn that on, we'll have one of them full screen, right? So now we go to the remote control surface and we pull in the video switcher buttons. So is that the one? Yeah, compact cuts. Yeah, put that in. So just for now. And then we go click on the Jamal Carter one. And then we can add an action. And the action we want to add is like lower third, the Jamal Carter variation, and then toggle live state. Yes. Okay. And we do that for all of them. So
Actually, I guess we want not only toggle, but set live. Is this
yeah,
correct?
I think if you do set live, it doesn't. Oh yeah,
Toggle
maybe.
means it will
Yeah,
switch it off
maybe you're
also.
correct.
Oh,
So just try set live and assign them at least two of them. So we um, set live and then remove the one that's above that. So we don't need that. And we want to have a third action, which is actually set live for the yeah,
Title,
type in.
their name disappeared again.
Yeah, so yeah, well, that's a problem because yeah, but so we want to actually make sure that the switcher is live. So we go to the video switcher and do we have to put that live or is it automatically gonna go live when we switch to someone? No, it's not gonna automatically. Is
no,
it?
no, it doesn't.
So we have to set live as well.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure if the order is important because the layer needs to be live first before you can switch to person.
Can we change the order? Just select the set live now for now. And then we see if we can you move the order and put
No.
this? No? Okay. Damn it.
Yeah, I guess we need to create a custom button. But yeah, that's
Well,
it.
you can delete the action that's already there and add it again later. So just remove the two top actions so that set live video switcher is first. Yeah. And the other one, and then add them back in, which is like video switcher. No, first the video switcher and go to 9 variants. No, not. Okay, remove one, remove it again. Now add, go to the video switcher, go to 9 sources, and go cut one. So, and then add action.
Oh, I see what we're doing. Okay.
Go to lower third.
And then
Variant
variant
1, yes, set live.
set live. Okay.
Okay, and now we do the same thing for the second one, second button, so we can see if that works. So yeah, action, video switcher set live. Then action, video switcher, various sources, cut two, and then add the lower third. Two. Okay, set live. So now we test this and see if we set to anything, if we move the thing away a little bit. So if we switch to switch to the multi-view, not the multi-view, the split screen. So just turn off turn off the video switcher, basically. All right. So now go to the remote control and hit Annika Patel one. No, it's not doing that. Why is it not doing that? Well, Achim, why is it not switching the video switcher live?
We need to see if the video switcher is already live. So can you scroll up in the layer stack to see what the video switch status is? It's live.
Oh, it's live.
So the issue is, I guess, if it won't switch. Not quite sure
Well,
if this.
isn't this why we use layer sets so that we can tell it to
Yeah, the video switcher won't switch by layer sets. It has its own actions. You can't start the action. I mean, we can have 6 independent placer layers with all the sources and then manually switch on the placer or have a layer set that will switch on the placer and the lower third at the same time. So we don't have the video switcher layer for it, for this. So we will
so from here, like from here, how would I set it up then to switch? Because normally I'm so used to using layer sets for my own show, and I know that's how I would do it. But like with the other control surface that we have here, first of all, I put it all on one control surface, right? We're just testing right now. That's the old one, sorry. So on this one, right? So how would I cut back to say this or this if I was full screen without a layer stack, without a
No, you would do that with a layer set.
You would have to.
Because you would go, the layer set would go to the 5 up, and then the 5 up layer set would turn off everything except for the 5 up.
Okay.
That would stay the same. My idea is that you have to press only one button to make someone full screen and launch their lower third, right?
Yeah, but Oliver, you can have multiple placer layers.
Yes.
And
I don't like that. I don't like making us,
the video switcher is not meant to be switched off and on multiple times. So the concept of the video switcher was turn it on once and let it run.
Okay, so we know these
handles the switching differently.
So we know these buttons work. So can I just continue? Can I build these out on the main one? Because I don't want to have multiple control surfaces here.
Yeah, true. But you would, as Achim said, you would build it differently because you wouldn't do it with the switcher layer. You would do it with a number of placer layers.
Placer layers. Okay.
And layer sets.
And layer sets.
That's the old one. I think I'm going to get rid of this. Is just a giant mess. I need to get rid of this. How do I delete the control surface?
You go back to the control surfaces. No, you go to edit, go into the control surface and go to edit. And there's a button next to extra hours now. So like a little.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go delete and then you have to click again and then it's gone.
Okay.
Sorry, Oliver, could we just not move the video switcher lower and then have all of the 2 ups and other combinations higher and then switch them off and then the video switcher will become visible? Or use the placeholder to go through.
I mean, what I want to avoid is to have to press 2 or 3 buttons to get to one person. I want to have one button.
It has to be one button. It has to.
And I can't have you have to press this button and this button and this button, and then it looks like what you want. So,
yeah, but my point is,
what you suggest would mean that if I want to go to person X full screen, I would have to switch to a different layer set and then select who's going to be the one I want to show.
Sorry, maybe I explained that wrong. But if I'm using the placeholder, doesn't that just show what's underneath? So if I select that, then I can show whatever I want underneath?
the layer below.
The layer below, sorry, not the
Yes,
placeholder.
yes. Yeah, that would be like, but then also you have to have like two buttons because you have to switch the switcher layer to layer below and then select what's actually gonna should be below if you have multiple layouts to choose from. So what we want is we want a way to go to the layout immediately, and then I mean the single layout is sort of a special case because there's like 6 different single layouts. If you say, you know, you make them for each person with the matching lower third, which is kind of annoying.
But Oliver, back again to what Robert suggested. Maybe I don't know exactly how Mimo works, but couldn't you just with a button press switch off the multi-up layer and reveal the full screen layer underneath, like Robert suggested? So it would be
You could have a layer set that does that turns off everything except for that. But then you have to then still select who's going to be the person you want to show.
So yeah, it would be like one button that switches off the multi-up layer and brings Jamal, for example, in the video switcher, sets Jamal in the video switcher, or Annika or whatever. And this button we already.
I don't think we can have the layer set. Let me see. Can we have the layer set decide which person should be selected in the switcher? Achim says no.
No, unfortunately, no. But I guess the best way actually would be using a placer layer with give it 6 variants and put the sources in there, the siphon sources, and have layer sets to actually activate a specific variant in that layer, in that placer layer, and switch on the lower third at the same time, the corresponding lower third.
You
But
mean
this
the swim
also
sources?
would do a exact frame switching. Or the other ideas are not frame accurate. Going through the web server by pressing a button is not frame accurate. If you have multiple actions in a button, that could glitch. So having a layer set, switching on the placer and a specific variant and a lower third, that would make sense to me.
So what you're saying is the layer sets are faster than the buttons with multiple sets.
Yeah, because they are activated at once. All the actions that are defined in a layer set will be within one frame. But the buttons in the remote control, I'm not sure if they are executed once at a time, and they need time to be executed. So it's not guaranteed that all the actions in one button will be executed within one frame. From
Okay, that's something I didn't know, but that's good information. So Alex, are you
Yeah.
you're doing
I
cleanup
just
work?
realized we need a spot 6 wasn't really
Okay,
configured because
okay.
we have 6 people. So I'm just trying to get Siphon working here. So I've got it selected, but it's not showing the preview of who's in it.
I think you have to switch it to something that actually shows something. Maybe switch it to Jamal for now.
Like, how is this supposed to be?
Yeah, just click on the preview where it says Jamal. And why does it not show, Achim? Do you know why it does not show?
Where we are. I'm sorry, I didn't follow. So just select the spot 6 layer, the siphon sender layer, and see what the sender layer, and see we have server name spot 6. And you want to receive it in spot 6 receiver layer. And it shows a gray, or even it doesn't show any in the upper right corner of that source, there's the tally light and it doesn't show anything. So I guess it's not connected to any layer, or it's not shown anywhere.
Just reselect spot 6 in that. Just go select spot 5 and then reselect spot 6.
No, I guess the issue is that spot 6 isn't
Oh,
used
spot
anywhere.
6 is not nowhere used. Okay, yeah, that's the thing. You need to use the spot 6, Alex.
You selected in source 6, you just selected the zoom source, so you need to select the spot 6 source.
No, 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 no,
No, that's
no.
the
You
wrong
have to
one.
go
I'm
to
sorry.
a multi-view. Go to the multi-view. Go to the split screen layer with the 6 up. And now you have to select spot 6 instead of Mikkel Jung. So now you see that screen. So it's using that. And if you click there and
But no preview here. Oh,
update.
there it is.
Yeah.
Takes a second. Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works. So
And
now
then we'll have to.
let's do the full screen thing. Just so we get somewhere. Just add, like, in the in the layer stack, just add a layer, placer layer at the top, maybe below the lower third. And remove the switcher that's directly below that. And then save.
Get rid of this switcher, delete it.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't need it.
No, we don't need it. And now save the document, so just to be sure. So now in the placer, just make 6 6 variants and select the zoom source 1 to 6.
Okay. So and we're going to select the spot, or manually select the names.
Yeah,
Zoom
select
isosource.
zoom isosource. So now
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 6.
There we go.
All right, now we have those. So we can make placer, we can make layer sets for each of them. No, don't.
Well,
yeah.
Can we give this a better name? What would
Yeah,
be
and
a
then
better name
to
for
that
this?
full screen or whatever. Okay, now turn on the Jamal Carter in the lower third and in the oh yeah, okay. That's not quick enough, because then we want the Jamal Carter to be on. And can you do fast lower third
We
Jamal
can
Carter
switch,
and then add a
Oliver,
new?
we can set this up in the layer
Yeah,
set.
okay. Okay, so make a layer set. And call that whatever, full screen 1. But then we don't have the names on the remote control surfaces. Ah, crap. Yeah, okay. So now we go lower third and we put that live. We add the live for the lower third and then select Jamal Carter. Yes. So we have both Jamal Carter lower third and the full screen when we
Right. But
hit
then
the full screen one button.
I feel like if we have to manually, if we're not getting the names automatically, that means that the buttons we've got to manually create names on the buttons. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
We are getting there, I would
Okay.
say. But because we can use the lower third variants
Oh yeah,
first, and
right.
then change the set. Can you go back to the full screen one layer set, please, and activate it or see? And then I would suggest that you switch on all other layers to no action, because otherwise you will mess up your
What about the
stack.
automation layer?
No
Now
action.
switch every other switch to no action. So the layer set would start to recall this state for each layer. But in this case, you want just to switch the full screen layer sets should just take action on the placer layer in the lower third, and all the other layers it shouldn't touch in any way.
It's a lot of layers.
So
Can we duplicate this?
yep, we can.
So just duplicate.
Check again. You have just 2 layers. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4, and let's rename that to 5. Full screen 5.
Now we have to go in and set, the Jamal Carter to Anika and the other one as well. The other one, the lower third as well. Full screen as well. So do the same thing for Louis.
Okay,
Oh, that's already.
that's done.
And I guess we need a 7th layer set to actually switch off both of the layers at the same time.
And
So
also,
that should
if
be
someone's
that should be done if you switch to like 5 up or so.
and
Then-
what about we're not doing lower thirds for. What about if somebody decides to screen share? If I want to cut full screen to the screen share, we don't need a layer set for that, do we?
Well,
Um,
I
Or
mean,
maybe
you don't.
maybe we
You,
do.
you could you
'Cause-
could have just if you don't want to do any other things, you can just add another variation and and then make a button that turns that on and off. So
What do you mean another variation?
another variant of the placer layer that the full screen placer layer, you just make another one that's just the screen share.
Oh, I see.
And then you have to set up a Zoom source for screen sharing. So no. Don't touch that. Don't touch that. Just
Well, I just added
Not-
another one though.
no. Just don't touch it. Go to the Zoom
Don't touch the
ISO.
full screen layer.
Go to Zoom ISO. And you have a source for the screen sharing. Okay. So what you do is you click on the full screen Jamal Carter, the last one that you've created. You just click once there, click once there, click once there. No, 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 no. Just click.
Whoa, what am I
Okay.
clicking on?
Yeah, this one. Okay, now you can
Okay,
switch the video
that's what I,
source to
that's what I was.
screen
That's
sharing.
what I was on.
Okay. Just okay. So now that's gonna give you the screen sharing. So you could set up a layer set for that, but you don't have to because this is just one button, right? So you can put one button that turns the screen sharing on and off onto the remote control surface.
Okay.
So yeah,
As an aside, do you know why this keeps disconnecting? Have you guys
I
seen
have
this
no
in
idea.
Safari? Just
I think when Safari is in the background, it does not get processing time from the Mac
mm,
OS, and then it just turns off.
that's a good thing. I don't have that problem because I access it from an IP address on another computer, and I don't have that problem.
Yeah, because then you keep Safari in the front. So it's basically probably an energy saving thing.
Shouldn't be though. I'm not even on a laptop though. It's not like this thing's on a battery.
Yeah, that's just
So I
Mac
I
OS.
realized that if Safari brings windows in the background or they are not visible at all, so then it turns down the processing time for
Mm,
it. And probably the application running the remote control thinks that there's a timeout when talking to mimoLive because it takes too long to get answers from mimoLive, and then it thinks that
okay.
it's disconnected.
It may also be Apple trying to save memory because a lot of these
Well,
browsers
all
now,
these
when
even Chrome does that. So you can. I know in Chrome it does it by default, and you can turn it off. But if
What
you have an inactive browser tab, it'll just turn it off
to save RAM.
to save
Mhm.
RAM. Yeah, exactly.
on you could try to download the mimoLive remote app on the M2
Oh
and see
yeah.
if that does the same thing. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
All right. All right.
Instead of using
So
the
okay. So
browser,
how do
you
I add the
can
screen? How do I add the screen share?
well, you go to the full screen thing.
Now you need to get to
Full
documents
screen,
to the layer sets.
full screen, full screen layer. Yeah. And just go to the variant screen sharing and drag that in. Yeah.
For the screen sharing.
That's gonna make the screen share full screen. But if there's nothing in the source, then it's transparent. So what you see right now is
Yeah.
basically everything that's below that layer because
Yeah.
there's no.
And now I need to also build buttons. Like if I switched away to something now, if I want to go back to the 6-up, that would be a layer set, right? Go
Yeah,
back to that
that's a
split
button
screen.
that says 6-up because you have to go like you go to Jamal for full screen and you go back to 6-up or 4-up or 5-up. Exactly.
And this is where having a if we go, I'm gonna have to make the grid much smaller because I'm running out of space for buttons here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's add the full
Now you do that through the layer sets.
through
So
layer
you go
sets. Okay, I
down to
see.
the layer set and
There it is. Full
you
screen one,
full
two.
screen 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. I would move it over one to the right, so because then it's under the same. So Jamal Carter is always in the same column.
Oh yeah. Good point. That's a good point.
So you that's easier for you to figure out who is who. Achim, you said something about we could probably use the names on the lower thirds for this.
Yeah, if you don't drag those buttons but use the lower third variants buttons, but
Oh,
then remove all the actions of those because those buttons has the dynamic title, and it will keep the dynamic title, but you can add the action to recall the layer set instead of actually starting the lower third.
So just drag the all
Yep.
variants of the lower third in there.
Yeah. Now you
And
see you
then
have the names on the buttons, and you
Yeah.
can exactly go into the action and remove the toggle layer action at the bottom, and then add the action to start.
Oh,
Yeah,
so this layer I gotta
correct,
delete
correct.
this action.
Yeah, and then add the action to actually start the layer.
This didn't
lower
work
third.
because it's removing the automatic title thing.
Yeah, that's
Is it
interesting.
gonna add it back? I guess we have to test it and see. So am I
Yeah,
going into lower third here?
No, you go to the
hold on.
the
Yeah,
the layer variable full screen one.
recall full screen one.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I thought that the name would be kept, but unfortunately, the name of the lower third is deleted anyways. Interesting. Didn't realize that.
Can't you just add a button as a variable that only shows on the button and does nothing? Like a custom and paste the variable in?
Um,
That's an interesting
outside
question.
of
We should
that.
be able to do that if we have the variable. It doesn't show the, but it should. Maybe we can. Do you have the name of the variable?
Um,
Or,
not
yeah,
so easy. Let me think about that for a second. Because in the title, you can fill in round brackets, but I guess you need to put in two round brackets and so. I can't quite remember how to dynamically add the title to the top. It
let's
does
see if
work
we can
somehow.
have that in. If we have that in our documentation, Achim.
We do.
I
Interesting.
don't know. Maybe remote control surfaces. Where are they?
Okay, while we're doing that, I need to add these other spots because I only got 4 right now. We need 2 more.
Hmm. Oh, it doesn't say in the documentation, Achim.
Hmm.
Oliver, remind me how we set this up, these buttons here, because I need 2 more rows, spot 5 and spot 6. How did we get these buttons in here?
These are
The siphon
the
spots?
no the switchers. So go spot. You have to go to spot 5, and you have to go to the second one, which is the switcher.
Ah, right.
Drag in the compact cuts thing, and then arrange the buttons like they are.
Yeah.
And the first button in the first row is just a custom button. What did you
I think you
miss?
didn't use the layer below before, Alex. You can get rid of this and paste
Oh.
the John in. And there are a few buttons which you have to redo because they lost
Yeah,
the
I
title.
know. It's a
Yeah.
recurring. thing now. So I guess I have to, there's no way for me to get this back too. I'm going to have to re-add the button probably. I think
Yeah,
we ran into
exactly.
this last time. The only way to get it
Yeah.
back would be to delete the button.
And
So
then I believe
that's supposed
bring
to be John.
And now you have to bring in all the buttons again, I believe, and get rid of all the ones you don't need.
You can't just do one. Can we go
Maybe?
to that specific
No,
source?
no, you can't.
So I have to go compact cuts again. And then add John back like that.
Yeah.
Now the question, let's just see if it deletes the name again, because I don't want the, if I want
Yeah,
to
if you
turn the
click
video,
into the title, it deletes the name. So don't click into the title.
I'm trying not to. I'm clicking the gear icon.
Yeah, don't click in the title.
So turn the video preview off. Okay, there we go. And now manually delete all these buttons. Okay. Wish you could shift click this.
Yeah.
Or
Good
drag
point.
the box.
Hopefully the developers are listening.
Well,
I hear they can be really challenging to get a hold of.
click again.
Okay, so this was 5, and then again, custom button all the way at the bottom. Custom button. And then that's got to be
Video
spots.
preview. Yeah, spots 5.
Okay, and then we go to video preview.
And that's going to be spot 5. You have to scroll down to the sources and then take the spot 5 source, which is not in order, which is like interesting. Yep. All right. Now do the same thing for the spot 6.
Okay. Spot 6, and that's the second one. And the top one is the, because I know they have the same name. The top one is the siphon.
Yeah.
Transmitter.
Yeah. Well, you could rename them so it's easier. You could rename the first 3 already.
Be a good idea to do.
That's gonna be easy.
I don't really need this placeholder G, right? I can just delete these. We're not going to use them.
Well, if they have more than 6,
unless we add, maybe I'll just leave them in case. But all right, one more custom button with a video preview. And give that a name, spot 6. Video preview.
Find the spot 6, yeah.
Could you have copied spot 5 and added it to spot 6 functionality?
Okay. Oh, there's no copy function.
Okay.
For the buttons.
Copy.
Copy that. We're currently really redesigning the remote control surface, and all these things are these are things that are gonna be hopefully getting added. So
Oliver, can I ask you a question while Alex is busy with this?
Yeah, sure.
I really fell in love with the switcher when you showed it to us because I hadn't used it before. And now today I've sort of gotten one step backwards. So can you give me a use case when the switcher should be used, please?
Well, basically, it should be used for exactly this case. The only complication is that Achim or Alex wanted to be able to switch the switcher on and add the lower thirds at the same time. That's the only thing because the placer system, the placer thing might work better because there's specific control over the what's on the screen. If you just want to switch between 5 or 6 sources and don't want to have like the multi-ups and automatically switch to a certain person kind of thing. It really depends on what kind of things you want to do in your show and what the transitions are. Is there going to be a transition from a 5 up to a full screen? I would use the spot. If I do that, I would use the solo buttons in the 5 up. But in this case of this show, there might be more people to switch to than are in the 5. There might be 6 people, and I want to switch to the 6th person, and there's only like 5 in the split screen or 4. And so this transition from 4 to 1, where I want to be able to pick one of 6 for that spot, and it's not going to be one that is already in the 4 up. That makes it more difficult. But I think you could basically, I mean, there's endless ways to do things, and one or the other depends on really how, what the in and out transition and what the purpose is of what you're doing.
And the video switcher layer is actually designed to be a video switcher. So to switch between 6 video sources, like 6 cameras in a studio. So you don't need to synchronize specific other layers with it. And another complexity in this setup here is that we want to switch between Zoom participants and put them into different spots and then show them in full screen. So that makes it so much complicated that we can't use the video switcher here.
Okay, thank you. But just going back to what I had suggested earlier on, if I have a use case where I want the full screen of the participants on top, I could put this video switcher on top and then go through the bottom right-hand button. I forgot what it's called now. The one that goes through to the layer below.
So layer
Yeah,
below.
below.
Layer below. Layer below makes sense. The layer below. And then I could run my event in the layer below until I get to a situation, but without the transition, like you said, because there would be no transition. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm with you. Okay, thank you.
I mean, one thing I would always recommend, and I'm like, I don't know, Alex, if you have done that, but I think there is the multi-view inside the mimoLive that shows you all the people. I would use that in any case, yeah. So
I've got
that's
it
on.
right here.
Yeah, you got it
on another screen.
On another screen, yes. Okay, good. Yeah.
I'm just creating a 2-up right now and just making sure these are set up with the spots.
Alex, maybe you should think about setting up a 1-up with screen share or 1-up with content,
yeah,
whatever.
that's a good point too. I think you're right. I think we need that too.
There's a layer for that that's called presenter layer. That you could or do a pip window thing.
What is this? Host plus. Whoa, that's not what we want. Nope. I want a 2-up and then maybe one with the screen share, so I could probably just duplicate this.
Well, no. What you want to do is you want to use the presenter layer.
Oh, that's a totally different layer, not split screen.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never even heard of this.
Presenter 2D.
And Oliver,
Okay.
before we do this, could you also switch what is in these boxes with the buttons on the remote control?
What's
Because
in
other
what boxes?
so that you can on the fly decide which is the one person in the one up and which is the content in the bigger window. Can you do this with this presenter layer as well, or should we go for a?
Well, you can have the presenter to you can use spot one, for example, in the
Yeah, yeah, okay.
in the content for the person. Actually, is the Achim is the back. It's using the background, right? For a that's not good. That's not good. Um,
The duty presenter is using the
yeah,
layer below.
yeah. It's using layers below for that's not good. Um,
Yeah, how do I get the screenshot in this? The screen share.
yeah. You select the screen share as source B.
So this source B is layers below. So you
And
need to
now
check
source B
your
is screen share.
source B. Sorry, source is
So
screen.
And right now we have nothing in it.
yeah,
Yes, because it's a Zoom screen share, and the Zoom meeting don't have a screen share. The demo meeting.
I think we need to do something else here because I think the layers below is gonna bite us.
And what is layers below again? Can you explain that?
Everything that's below that in the screen. So if you turn on the two
Oh.
up, you will see that. Yeah, turn it on. You will see that it should show up in the presenter 2D. Just to
Turn
let
off the
the
presenter.
presenter to no, let the presenter 2D on because
Okay.
that's so. And I'll switch to the presenter 2D. Select the presenter 2D because I think you've display. Where did you?
You need to have a source in
I have no,
source
yeah, we
B.
have no screen
Okay.
sharing source.
Yeah, go in source B and select in source B. Select the placeholder A. That's what the placeholders are for. So now you see that in the little window we see everything that's below that layer,
Oh, okay.
and that means that we
So
would
now
have to put it on top of the full screen thing because
Yeah,
then
that's complicated though, because I don't know on the fly if somebody's going to screen share. I need to be able to quickly control who's being seen.
yeah, but
I would go
that's
for
how you
another.
that's that you could use the full screen thing to select who's seen and then the presenter 3D to
I don't know
use
why I
this.
would want to do this though, because if somebody's screen sharing, I would much rather have the screen share full screen. Like I don't think I need to see the presenter in the lower corner of the screen. Like because for me, one of the frustrating things I find is when people do a screen share in a Zoom meeting. I want to see, I'm watching on my big screen TV, and I want to be able to see what they're sharing full screen. I don't need to see their face
Yeah,
personally.
so
that's you.
the
That's you.
presenter 2D layer is actually more like a transition. So you can transition to this view and
Mm.
now show the source B, which is currently the place A, full screen. It will automatically make it full screen and do the animation. So that's what the
Mm-hmm.
placer layer does. The presenter layer does actually.
So if you go
It's
to the
not you can keep
bigger,
it like that, but you can make source B also full screen.
Oh, you're saying move the full screen layer up
no,
there?
no, no, no,
No,
no, no,
no.
no, no, no.
The
Stay in
presenter
the
2D
presenter
layer can
layer.
actually do full screen for the source B. I hope.
Display A, B, and B. These buttons there, A and A, B and B. So if you click on B, if you no.
No.
Go to the control.
The
Yeah, there's
dis
like three buttons, A and B, and B. Display buttons. That says display.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see
If
those.
you
Yeah.
click on B, A and B and A, that's what this layer is for, it's making this animation basically. But if you just want full screen, then you just don't need that layer, and you just click on the source full screen button.
Yeah,
and
so but my problem though is, let's say hypothetically, let's say Jamal is talking. So I've got Jamal full screen. Jamal shares his screen, and then I cut to presenter 2D. That means I'd have to have Jamal in the lower right, in the lower corner, and the screen share.
Let's move the presenter 2D above the full screen basically, because that's what we want actually.
Yeah.
Above,
Alex,
above, not background. Above the full. You're moving
I've
it
got
down.
a lot of layers here, so I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find where it is.
One further up, above the full screen layer.
Yeah.
So now if you switch on Jamal full screen, put that live, and then go to placer and to the AB view. So now you have Jamal in there, and if you turn that placer layer, the presenter 3D, to A only, you will have exactly what you want. So basically now you can select like Michelle in the full screen layer. In the full screen layer, just leave it at A. Just leave it at A, the presenter. Just go to the presenter, go to presenter. Switch it to display A. So now you can just select Elena in the layer, in the full screen layer, or Jamal and Luis or whatever. And if they screen share, you can just hit the screen share, the AB button or the B button, and bring in the screen share.
Gotcha.
But Alex, are you going to have to do any of that? Because if we're on the same show and I go to share my screen, it's going to become full screen anyway. You don't even need to make the switch.
What's gonna? Well,
if we're using Zoom, we're doing a show, and I say I'm going to share my screen, it's going to go to full screen for everybody anyway.
In the meeting, but the meeting has nothing to do with what's going on.
You're right.
We're controlling the whole.
We can do that. Actually, we can do that because you could have a placer layer, a single placer layer just at the top of the layer stack, and turn that on and select the screen share, and it will only show something if someone shares a screen. And then it will automatically show what their screen sharing is.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I think.
May I suggest something?
Yes,
of course.
You could use this 2D layer for your all your one-ups, all your single-ups. And if you have some content to share, then you go to the A plus B or to the B.
Yeah.
So I actually like that. I like that.
Instead of a new layer with the one-ups, maybe take this layer, make variant, or do you have to make variants? I'm not sure. No, because you can decide what's in the full screen. So you could use this presenter 2D all the time for full screen. And if you have some content to share, then you switch.
Yeah, just switch to A or B or B and A.
And then how would we, if we're going to use the presenter 2D for full screen, how do we get using the buttons, how do we set it up so that the lower third is also triggered for that person?
Well, if you go now and switch using the use the layer variance thing, the layer set switch full screen 1.
Yeah.
Use that, and you have what you want, and then you can still switch to a B view in the presenter 2D and bring in this.
Oh, you're saying to continue to use these full screen layers?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Sure. That's how you switch to full screen for Jamal. And then if they screen share, then you just press the A, B, or B button in that presenter 2D layer.
Okay. Well, let's.
But Oliver, I think you need to be careful here, because if the lower third hasn't come off the screen, it'll still be in the full size when the presentation comes up.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think that's right.
No, it's gonna be below the so it's gonna be in a small window.
In the small window, it won't be full
Yeah.
screen, will it?
No, because the lower third is that below. Okay, yeah, we have to move the presenter over to um, above the presenter. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to move the presenter layer above the lower third layer, so that the lower third stays in the small window. If you do that,
Okay.
well, it might not be what you want, but yeah. No. You have to leave the layer on, which is the far right button needs to be on. The button on the far right. The place
Oh, I see the placeholder.
yeah, that needs to be on because that's the turns off the presenter layer. So leave that
I
on.
realize. Yeah.
And now you can just do A, B, or B. So this is the full screen for anyone. This is their screen share. This is their screen share full screen.
Uh-huh. Some of
And we
these
can make
animations
that
are
layout
really slow.
look nicer. We could make the space smaller and
Transitions. This is way too slow.
That's actually a cool feature.
yeah.
Very nice.
So sorry, what were you saying? What are you suggesting I change?
I would change the sizes of these things and make
Yeah.
it, you know, this is a little tricky because it's like the gap is in percent, which is like, well, and then the crop A is in percent too. So the crop A needs to be, you know, you can make it bigger by moving around these buttons. And I would make I would make the speaker window much bigger
Mm-hmm.
and move it closer to the well, this is crazy how you set this up. I think you need to do the bottom inset, move that to the I think you can actually click into the preview and move around with handles there and make that.
Yeah, make the window bigger, Alex. Press on the top right to make it a bigger window.
You need to you need to wait until it's actually changing the cursor, and then you can have control.
Trying to. It's just finicky.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. And now you just make the gap smaller and make the yeah.
Oliver, is there a grid that you could activate over this?
No.
So,
okay. It doesn't snap to the I can't tell if this is perfectly aligned or not.
Yeah, make it bigger. As usually I would make it as big as the A.
Oh.
Just make it as big as the A and then start from there. And then we make the gap smaller. Much smaller. Just make it disappear, basically.
I don't know if I want to sandwich the two of them together without a gap. It'll look weird. I think having a space there is good.
Okay, and then now make the you make Jamal smaller so that there's cut off left and right from Jamal because it doesn't
You
need to be.
crop it.
You crop it,
Oh.
yes.
Well, how do I move these back into the center though? They're all the way at
You
the
don't
bottom
have
now.
you can't. It's automatically calculated. So just make Jamal smaller first.
Is that the downscale A?
Yeah,
No,
I
that's the
think
screen
It's
no.
crop.
Crop B, crop A, I think. Crop A. Yeah, more. More. Even more. Okay, so now you can move the whole thing up by just moving it up, and then you have a nice layout. Yeah,
Yeah. Needs a
and you can
snap to grid so you can tell where it's
well you
perfectly
can
centered.
you can center it with just looking at the left and right values and making them the same. So just make that 40 and the other one also 40, and then you have like the same. And the bottom, the thing is the insert top. I think you could send the insert top to set that to 0. What happens? I don't know what happens. Nothing happens. Okay, so the bottom is
Because the alignment is bottom left.
okay. Yeah. So can you set the alignment to center
Just a pop up
position
at the
and
bottom, at the top.
so pop-up
That's
menu, Alex? The pop-up menu says position. Yeah. Top layer. Yeah, you can't.
There's no center.
Okay. There's no center. Yeah. Well, I
Let's
think
save
that
those
looks,
changes.
yeah,
That looks
I
pretty
think
good.
that looks pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the interface there. We've got all the spots, the presenter buttons. Now, I guess I what am I going to do about these the full screen buttons with the names, the dynamic names? I don't know. I guess I'm just going to have to manually type in people's names there on those buttons.
Well, I mean, they are like aligned under this Jamal Carter. So it's basically the button that's above that is Jamal Carter. So you could move that green button 2 lines up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Well,
basically
actually, if
the green
I
button would be sort of like the full
you know what I
size of
yeah.
that person because
I
they
was
are
just
aligned in the same.
Yeah, and I was also just thinking if I am going to give it a name, for example, like if I always know the whoever is hosting is always going to be in slot 1, then I could probably just give this button a name and call it host
Well, I mean, if
because
you
that's not going to change.
if you look at the setup right now, it always gives you the name of the person in the button above it. So if you just move the button close to the Jamal Carter, then it's going to be Jamal. Yeah, I mean, you know that this is going to be Jamal Carter because that's the same person as in the button above.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So,
And you could use you could actually use source one or something as the video preview, so you would see who is on that button.
yeah, I think I might just call these buttons source 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's probably
I would put the image of the person on there. So
like don't even put a name.
no name, but
Yeah, but
just
the thing is, I'm trying to get away from putting all these video previews in here because it's just increasing the CPU load. That's my other problem.
that's true, but it's like yeah. But that would be the perfect solution to that, you know. So
Alex, I would maybe even call it full screen 1, full screen 2, because that's what it's doing.
Yeah, I like that better. Why is that? What is this?
Just try
All
FS1,
layers
FS2.
Hold on.
Well, you should use the actually you should use the remove those buttons again, and use the no the buttons for the layer sets, so that you don't have to configure it manually. Since you won't have the names anyway, I don't think there's a big difference. Yeah, full screen 1, 2, yeah. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the full screen 4.
I know. I just realized I grabbed the wrong one. Full screen 4.
Full screen 5, full screen 6. No, the full screen.
Wrong. I just realized I selected the wrong thing.
Full screen 6. Yeah. Okay. Now you have to switch back to A in the, yeah. So that's the full screen. All right.
Well, that's progress.
Yeah, I feel like we've made a lot of progress.
Well, yeah, it's been 3 hours.
Should we call it a day for today? Or
I think so. I'm getting really exhausted, and I got another show to do.
I got one question. Is there an active speaker button possibility as well?
Well, you can add active speaker if you wanted to. That's just
I don't
the
know.
source.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, you can just make a source and select active speakers automatic, basically.
Automatic.
Copy.
All right. Well,
and
let's,
the lower third script we made will also, if you select automatic, it will also update the lower third, and every time someone else comes on in the automatic.
So the next thing I need to do is just work on these layer sets. Just make sure I have enough split screens for the layouts, like a 2 up, 4 up, 5 up, etc. And then just create the layer sets and then have the buttons on the interface that will switch the right things on and off.
All right. Good.
Very cool.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Alex, can we just have a request, or I can have a request if you can put these files into Discord so we can play with them, because there's such a lot that has gone in there. It's an amazing amount of knowledge.
Absolutely. Let me just kill the...
Thank you.
Hold on a second. I just want to see what happened. Let me just kill the Zoom client screen share. I want to see what happens to the CPU, the processor resources here.
while Alexander is doing that, Achim or Oliver, is it possible to programmatically from the automation layer to create sources?
I don't know if that's possible, because the idea would be, so what you can do is you can programmatically assign things to the sources, I think. So what you would have to do is you would have to make like placeholder sources,
Yeah.
like 10 sources, and then you can use a script to assign stuff to that.
Yeah. So while you have been doing the hard work, I've been just toying around. And I have actually made the automation layer to get all the active names from the Zoom meeting, put them into variables, using those variables to actually set all the lower thirds names in a specific lower third dynamically. And the next thing I would try to do is to programmatically in the automation layer also set the number one user to the number one source as you just suggested.
Okay, pretty cool.
And this is dynamic, so it will do that with whatever type of meeting. I've just limited it to 9 participants for now.
Okay,
I'll share
great.
that.
Maybe you can share that in the Discord channel as well,
Yeah.
and we can talk about that in a future workshop.
Yeah, or just implement this this code as the version 2 code base.
All right, Achim is back. Did you want to answer the question earlier with Alex? What was the question?
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I think we had a question where I said I'm not sure. Did Ronnie ask that question or Robert? Anyone? Someone asked the question, and I said I'm not sure if that's
I
possible.
don't know. Sorry.
It was about creating sources by the
Okay, that was
API,
Ronnie
and
then.
currently this is
Yeah.
so currently the API doesn't support creating any objects in mimoLive.
Yeah, it's easily done with just having dummy objects already in place.
Yeah.
Ronnie,
All right,
what's the
I
use?
think I'll stop the recording for now. So we have a nice little part 3. Thank you everyone for joining. This will be uploaded, and join the Discord channel if you didn't so far. And the link for that is going to be in the description of the video. And see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks.